Imagine that you're walking through an ancient city, streets of an ancient city. You come across a construction site. You see 3 people working there. They are working with large, unwieldy blocks of limestone that are heavy. You walk up to one of them and you ask, "Hey, what are you doing?" With a grumpy look, he says, "I'm squaring these stones. It's a really difficult work. I can't wait for it to stop. And I want to go home at the end of the day." You walk to the second person and you ask him the same question. And he says, "I'm building a wall. It's decent work. It pays my bills. It feeds my family. It's an honest day's work." Then you walk to the third person. He seems to be looking at something that you don't quite understand well. He's doing the same work. He's lifting, cutting, grinding, measuring, chipping. When you ask him the same question, he suddenly stands tall, looks up at the sky and says, "I'm building a cathedral that will touch the sky and it will outlast all of us by 500 years. All 3 of them were doing the same difficult job, but only one of them was doing it with meaning. We all default to moving stones. We do it by instinct. We do it by our nature. We do it out of habit. And we do it with an unsaid belief that good work will speak for itself. All of you are probably builders of some type or the other. As you build, sometime not too far in the future, you will be asked this question, not what you build or what are you building. You'll be asked, why should others care? What does it mean for others? The gap between what you build and what it means for others is what I'm going to talk about today. It's called the architecture of meaning. Why does this gap exist? And the gap seems to be widening. In 1954, Peter Drucker wrote something that should have been the North Star for every business and every builder. He said, every business has only 2 core functions, innovation and marketing. Rest everything just supports these 2 core functions. Everything else is cost. Yet over the last few decades, we have perfected the first and we have forgotten about the second. David Packard, who's the co-founder of Hewlett-Packard, recognized this problem. There is a line that is widely attributed to him, and the line goes, "Marketing is too important a function to be left to the marketing department." He was not talking just to marketers. He was talking to every creator. What he was saying is that meaning belongs to everyone who creates. About 2 years ago, I sat down with a sheet of paper to try and identify what was going on. I wanted to make sense of all of these things. I started drawing little boxes of everything that we do in marketing and marketing strategy. It was chaotic at first, too many boxes to be filled. Slowly a structure started emerging. I set out to build a structure for marketing. What I created and discovered was an architecture for meaning. Let me show you what I drew that day. Most companies want to go up to the top, to the very top, thought leadership and brand. They want to define everything in their industry. They want to shape their industry. They want to create new sub-industries within their industry. In 1996, Apple wanted to do the same. Its business end on the right was running fine. It was shipping products. But something at the core, at the bottom, was broken. Steve Jobs had left Apple a little over a decade before that. And Apple had lost something which was very important, and no advertising or promotion could bring it back simply. Apple had lost its core messaging, the little blue box at the bottom. Core messaging is where everything starts. Once you have core messaging, you build out the right wing and the left wing, and then you go up to the top. Without this core messaging box, the whole architecture leans forward and comes crashing to the ground. When Steve Jobs came back to Apple in 1997, one of the first things he did was ask this question: what do we believe? Before that, nobody could answer this question. Not Apple, not its leaders, not its customers, not the press, media. Even people who loved Apple products could not answer this. With that one question, the answer emerged, and it was think different. Think different was a core messaging first before it became a campaign or a tagline. The sequence that followed was that Apple's culture, employees, what they talked about, their leaders, company's leaders, everyone started talking about that language. Trust returned to Apple. The business followed. Apple released products, the iMac, the retail stores, iPod, iPhone. Product after product, Apple reinvented different industries. What Apple did was earn its way to the top. Yes, thought leadership and brand is something that has to be earned. If you want to wear the crown, you have to respect the sequence. You cannot buy your way to the top. You have to respect the sequence. In architecture, in cathedrals, in meaning, sequence is important. Kodak understood this too late. Kodak had invented the digital camera way back in 1975. Its business end was enormous. But as the world shifted and moved away from film, which was Kodak's core messaging, Kodak could not keep up, and its architecture came crashing down. Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Now, Nike had a very different story. Before 1988, Nike made good running shoes. Then it asked the same question that Jobs had asked a little less than a decade later. Nike asked, what do we believe in? Just do it was the essence of that core messaging. It became a campaign and a tagline later. With that core messaging, the corporate end started building. Nike signed up athletes who believed in that same belief. The athletes were not just endorsers of shoes. They believed in that core message of just do it. The business followed, and Nike also earned its way up to the top, which is thought leadership and brand. The sequence is important. You cannot bypass it. You cannot buy your way through it. Apple understood it. Nike understood it. Kodak did not, and that made all the difference. Think of a string, a guitar string without the guitar body. If you pluck it, it'll make a tiny sound that you can hear, but only you can hear that sound. Attach the hollow wooden body to the string, and the sound goes way back to the back of the room, and everyone hears it. That structure, that resonance chamber, is what I drew that day. Throughout the world, in dorm rooms, in labs, in garages, people will build things. People are building incredible things. We are living in times of a lot of noise, a lot of activity, and we are all searching for meaning. What people build in these dorm rooms and labs is the skeleton of the future, but meaning is the soul. Whatever you build, think of it as a fact. Meaning is the truth. A fact is a piece of data. Truth is what people are willing to believe, people are willing to pay for, people are willing to change their behavior for, and people are willing to share with others. What you innovate, if you don't market, you will just have a gadget. If you market without innovation, that's just a lie. If you put them together, you bring the what and the why together, you will create something far beyond a product or a solution, or you will create far beyond just creating a customer. You will create a legacy. So don't default to just moving stones. Don't even default to building a wall. Build the architecture of meaning to earn your way to the crown. Thank you.